This is Chamber Voices, conversations with the people that drive local business. Presented by the Fort McMurray Chamber of Commerce.
Well, hello there and welcome to Chamber Voices. My name is Stuart McIntosh, your host of this podcast, which focuses on Fort McMurray businesses. Not just the businesses, to be clear. We're focusing on the people behind them. And boy, have we got some good people on the podcast today. We're talking about Melanie Ference. She is the owner of Chocolates and Candlelight, a business that has been a long-standing community member. You've likely been there if you've lived in our community and have ever had to find something very, very special for someone in your life. And that someone, by the way, could also include you. I mean, they've got chocolate in the name. But it has been quite a journey for Melanie, from her humble beginnings as a home-based business until today. We're really excited to be joined by her via Zoom, via this brand new method of communication that we all have to kind of get used to. Melanie, thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really great way to do it.
As we enter 2021, two things. Everybody is tired of the way life's been for the last year, but I think there's a lot of optimism about where we're going. 2021 is going to be our year, Melanie.
Certainly lots of changes. There's no doubt about that. I think if you were a business owner through this, you really had to dig deep into the creative zone of things and go two ways. Either you, decided that you were kind of done with things and maybe you were looking to do something different, or B, you figured out a way that you could continue. So it seems like there's really sort of two avenues that have kind of existed through all this, but we definitely shifted to I don't think we're quite done with this, and how we're going to do it. So lots of learning for sure. But
without a doubt, I mean, nobody could know at the start of this, 12 months ago when we were all preparing to wash our hands a little bit, and maybe we might have to stay home from work for 3 or 4 days while the government sorts everything out. Nobody could have anticipated what we've been through.
No, certainly not. And, even at that point it was, maybe if we just do this for 2 weeks, that we'll just kind of be all over and done with. And even that was a sort of a scary thought. But,
right.
Yeah, obviously a whole year later, we've really done things in a whole new way that, like you said, nobody would ever have guessed we had to do it this way. But when you look back, doing a little bit of reading about, centuries old situations that are very, very similar. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before we go too far off track, because I know we could spend a huge amount of time talking about COVID and the year we've just been through, but I want to talk about yourself. I want to talk about your business. The purpose of this podcast is to engage with chamber members and local business owners such as yourself. So from my perspective, Chocolates and Candlelight has been around as a business as long as my family has lived in Fort McMurray. And we've lived here for a few years. It's just been that the go-to place to find a gift or find something for somebody that you really care about. There's buying a gift from somebody at a big box store, maybe buying it online, but then there's the act of going to a business like yours and buying something very special, very personalized. I hope that we all realize how fortunate we are in this community to have a business like yours. Not to gush too much, but it's such a great business and ubiquitous, as mentioned, here in Fort McMurray. So tell me about your humble beginnings. Tell me about how Chocolates and Candlelight came to be.
Well, it was kind of a forced scenario initially, to be honest.
Really?
I certainly had I had no thought in my mind at all that I was going to be a home-based business at any point, and that's how it began. But I was a legal assistant that needed to make a change in career choices, and so I chose to leave that. And at the same time, there was an interesting availability for a home-based business that was going to be up for sale, and so I got to know the person a little bit. And just prior to that, I and a friend got together at Christmas time and made chocolates for fun, for Christmas gifts. And so it was certainly something I'd never done before, just sort of one of those crafty things maybe we should try. So we did. And it was quite enjoyable. And then when I needed to kind of make a shift, I looked at this opportunity that was there for the home business and thought, I think maybe that's something I'd like to do.
I might give this a go.
So it kind of, when I say forced in one sense, it was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. So what else am I going to do? Mm-hmm. I certainly didn't have business experience at that point. I was definitely intimidated, because obviously you're making a commitment in dollars and time and everything else. And it was also a business that had been in town for a number of years and had been run successfully. So intimidating that I had to continue that or improve it or,
sure,
make it as good or better. So I started that way. And I started making chocolates from home. I was a registered business with the municipality, has followed everything that I needed to do, and had a separate kitchen, luckily in the home that I was in my basement, because it was an in-law suite.
Sure.
And so it had that, and I had to have that in order to prepare the chocolate and do everything I was doing. So it worked out really well that way. And I did it like that for 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
And then a friend of mine and I just kind of started throwing around a couple of crazy ideas. At that point is how we looked at it. We're like, it'd be kind of cool to have a store, you just
like a real store. Yeah.
Yeah. Like a retail store, not just something you do on the weekends. And we started talking about it in January, and May we were open.
And what year was that? What year would that have been?
That was 1999.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a century ago when I say it like that, but
yeah, I don't know why. I just assumed that it would have been maybe 10, 15 years, but I mean,
nope.
You're a heritage business in our community, yeah. Melanie. That's amazing.
When I talk about the length of time, it really doesn't seem real. Like everybody you talk to that's been around for a little while has that comment, time goes by so quickly, and it sure does, because I certainly wouldn't have said that I was going to have a retail store, part of that. And I certainly wouldn't have said that I would still be selling chocolate 25 years later. So
that is amazing. I mean, the thing is to think about it now in 1999, there was no Facebook. Social media wasn't a thing. I mean, now I'll log on to Facebook, and because we're talking about chocolate right now, my computer is picking up every word I'm saying. So I'll get online when we're done talking, and it's going to show me 6 or 7 videos of people making chocolate at home. But I mean, that must not have been a very common thing in the mid to late 90s. It was just sort of an inspiration, and it was a leap that you took. To me, that's amazing. That is the entrepreneurial spirit, I would say.
Yeah, like I said, it's funny because sometimes you don't realize you kind of have these I don't even know what to call it, tendencies or creative flows or whatever you want to say it, but it just seemed to work, and the more I kind of got into it, the more I enjoyed it. It was very time consuming, and sure. So you really had to plan your time out and in order to make that work. But so that's where it began, and then we ran the shop together for a few years. I ended up taking it over, kind of continuing with it on my own at one point, and we started out in River Point shops, ended up in Timberley, where we've been located now for the last 14, 15 years, and just I think I think about it a lot. I'm like, how come we're still here? Mm-hmm. I mean, certainly I had lots of support from my husband financially, and so there were definitely years where, had I been relying only on the business, it would have been very tough,
right?
To survive. But I did have some pretty healthy leeway that I could just kind of push through and make some changes and figure out how. And as a small business owner, sometimes that means you're not bringing a lot home.
Right?
You're putting everything back into the business in order to keep it interesting for your customers. Because if you don't have stock, and if that stock isn't turning over, they just don't bother coming back because it just gets boring. So you have to, that's the key. You have to keep it interesting, and you have to keep trying to figure out what's needed. Yeah. So no Facebook back then, for sure. It was all, we did everything in the good old Fort McMurray Today paper. And that's how you advertised. And maybe you did some posters, or you word of mouth certainly has always been
Yeah.
by far, number one. But nowadays, you rely heavily on social media, and you have to get pretty savvy in
It's a
that.
new kind of word of mouth, isn't it? Through social
Absolutely.
media. It still
Absolutely.
is, but man,
Yeah.
it matters so much more. And it's interesting you bring that up because that was sort of going to lead into my next question, which was that, okay, in 99, you sold chocolate that you made on your own in your home. Then you moved to your brick and mortar location and you've since expanded. But now, if someone were to visit Chocolates and Candlelight, located at 122 Millennium Drive, Unit 4, you'll know that there's a lot more to your business than just, homemade chocolate. You've got a huge, diverse array of products that people can just walk in and get. And you've saved, I'll tell you this, Melanie, you have saved my bacon a couple of times when it has been the day of something and I've neglected to, pick up what I need. And then I'm like, oh no, I need to get a gift basket for this person. And I've gone to your store and I've been helped out immensely. So when did that begin to happen? Was it around the time you moved up to Timberley?
We've introduced the idea of gift baskets actually fairly early into the whole retail part of things, because you just, like I said, you're just always trying to read the needs of customers coming in, and it just kind of started to happen. And we realized that, if we combine these things that we already have going into a package, and, certainly gift baskets is not a new trend or anything. It's something that has existed in many different ways, but it just worked. So we did that early on and kind of changed things a little bit as we went. But I've been given a little bit of grief over the years of, well, why don't you put that online, and why don't you do it this way? And I always revert back to, yes, we definitely have some things online, and that certainly has expanded over the course of the year for sure with COVID. But I always go back to the point of, I'm totally old school when it comes to things like that, and I like to have the conversation. So if you're calling me from St. John's because your niece, sister, aunt, uncle, whoever it is happens to be here in Fort McMurray, we want to know who that person is, and we want to know what you're trying to accomplish. Because if it's a birthday, or if it's, a thinking of you, or maybe someone's lost someone,
yeah,
we want to know what that is and what you're trying to accomplish, so that we can offer the best suggestions. And so the course of our inventory is really expanded and changed too, because you're trying to figure out, okay, what themes are there,
yep,
and what am I going to need to fill those voids when I get to that point? So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I think that's what's kept us going, to be really honest. I mean, when you've got closures and you've got, government saying you can't do this and you can't do it this way, how else are we going to do it but to continue that? And the connection has been super, super important for sure. So I'm really glad I've hung on to that.
Of course. And the connection is, indicative of the kind of business you're in. You're a service-based business. You're a customer-facing business. And that's not to say that other retail stores aren't that way, but I mean, your bread and butter is, like you said, interacting with an individual, hearing them out, getting their story, and then designing a product for them, for that emotion that they're facing. Not to psychoanalyze or anything.
It's kind of the go-to place in one sense. I sort of just keep saying I guess we're the feel-good place, because whether it's somebody just really needs to come in and take 5 minutes from their day and forget about stuff, or distract themselves, or come in and treat themselves to something, or they're trying to do that for somebody else. It seems like we've been able to offer enough variety and enough new things along the way that people still keep coming back to us for that. So I've always said, the joke has kind of been, as long as people are interested in buying chocolate, I guess I'll keep selling it. So
I feel like that's not a market that's going away anytime soon.
No.
This is Chamber Voices, conversations with the people that drive local business. Presented by the Fort McMurray Chamber of Commerce.
Welcome back to the second half of our conversation with Melanie Ference, owner of Chocolates and Candlelight, here on Chamber Voices, a podcast about people like Melanie, business owners in our community. By the way, if you are one of them, and if you're listening to this right now thinking, gee, I've got a story to tell, maybe I can get on this podcast. Well, the truth is you can. To get more information about the Fort McMurray Chamber of Commerce, what we can offer you in membership, and of course, this podcast here, send me an email, communications@fortmcmurraychamber.ca. You can find Chocolates and Candlelight online, chocolatesandcandlelight.com. Her phone number is 780-743-3878. So Melanie, we've mentioned that your business, it started as a hobby, turned into a bit of a passion for you. Are you still making chocolate?
Well, the part about actually making the chocolate definitely did change.
Yeah.
I got to a point where I'm like, okay, either I'm going to continue to do that end of it, and it was fun and it was good, but it's super time consuming,
Sure.
or what do I like more? So I figured out that there's some amazing companies across the country that do that part, and I would much rather be, in front of the person having conversation with them and selling them this amazing product. So I still enjoy making chocolate from time to time, but it's definitely become, we're the middle guy in the sense that we're going to be the one to sell it to you, and we're going to get these other guys to do that part of it. So what keeps me going for sure, because there definitely has been, years in the last couple of years, to be really honest, prior to COVID, where like a number of other businesses, we really had to make some decisions as to, are we going to keep rolling with this, and how long can we do that? Yeah. So having gotten through those couple of years like that, and things have really turned around. And it's odd when you have to have something really catastrophic, whether it be the fire or a flood or a pandemic. For our type of business, it directs the flow to us. And so that seems like it's helped us immensely. We've had one of the best, last quarter was one of the best parts of our year in a number of years.
Man, I got to be honest, Melanie, you know how refreshing it is to hear a business owner say that?
Yeah, it's good to share it, because it's kind of giving a little bit of hope, I think, to people to just try to keep pushing through and come up with some different ideas. Because I realized very quickly when, we had to be closed, but I was the type of business that I was able to continue to remain open. I was in the shop myself every day for about 2 months, and I was there probably 10 to 12 hours a day, because I was tied to the social media pages, certainly, and was open for curbside pickup and delivery, like everybody else was doing at that point.
Yes.
Chose to, I suppose, but it was very tiring, because you had to be available every second for questions, for answers, for photos, for all of the things that people needed, because they couldn't be in there physically to see. So having done that, it made me very, very aware of how important social media was. And even now, I have people that walk into the store, and later that day I'll have a post go out, and then I'll get a message from them like, what? It was just there and I didn't see that. Like, where was that? So it really does open your eyes to how important that is. People need to see things, and even when you think they see them, they're not seeing them. So
yeah, man, I'm getting the vibe, Melanie, that you are just by nature an optimistic person. I think optimism is a pretty major trait any entrepreneur these days needs to have. But I also am aware that this has been a year, we're coming out of a couple of quarters where I bet there's a ton of discouragement for local businesses, small business owners that have maybe begun operating, 2, 3, 4 years ago, and they're still somewhat new. They're still just trying to make it happen. So with that in mind, what could you say as a word of encouragement or a piece of advice with all that experience and everything that you've brought your business through in the last 2.5 decades to just re-energize a potential fledgling business that is struggling right now?
Definitely stay connected with other business owners, and don't be afraid to ask questions. My God, if I hadn't asked questions along the way, I don't know. You need to definitely have a bit of a team in place too. I mean, we hear that sort of comment a lot, but it really is important. And whether that is, you get a hold of a really great accountant or bookkeeper to kind of help you through some of it, or you just like you say, talk to other business owners. I have to say the chamber over the last number of years has had a lot of fresh faces involved, and I think it's one of the best resources in the community for sure. Now more than ever, but no, literally, because obviously fresh faces puts new perspective and looks at what the need is now, because obviously what's now is there's new things that need to be acknowledged versus what it was 2 years ago or 5 or 20 years ago. So obviously you can't be scared of change. That's a big one.
Yes.
Because if you stay stagnant in what you were doing in 2015, you really have to pay attention to what is needed in the community, and that's something we continually ask our customers, certainly, and whether we do that as they're coming in the door or we're sending just a message out to them via social media, because that's really the way to do it nowadays.
Yes.
Consistency. You got to stay consistent on that, and just stay in touch with them. Stay in touch. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to throw it out there, and don't be afraid to be a little bit vulnerable too, to let people know that you're a person on the other side of the name of the business, right? Because you're going through the stuff that they are too, just different ways maybe. But
I am such a monster advocate for asking questions. That's my mantra through life, through my work. It's always, if I don't know something, the first thing I do is look for a human being who knows more about that subject than me, and just bother them until, well, maybe not until they tell me to stop, but I get to that. I'm sure I come close with a lot of people. There's a lot of people who probably, they see my name show up on their phone display and they go, oh no, not him again.
I would sooner have somebody ask the question than claim they know something, and then you're backtracking to fix something. Or I've always told my staff over the years that I'm like, you know what, I would sooner answer 1 million questions when you don't know something versus me having to fix it later and fix the damage that may have occurred because of it. Because it doesn't matter if you yourself goes to a store to return something, or you're trying to get an answer to something. There is nothing worse than a political answer where you're not getting your answer. You're just getting 52 ways around it. And it just drives a person crazy. So.
Truthfully, it's a muscle. You have to, it's like anything else. You need to work out your ability to ask for help, to reach out, right? Yeah,
you're right. It's definitely not, in some cases, a natural thing to do for people. They need to practice it, and it's a very good life skill to have, to practice that, and you just gain a lot more, obviously, a lot more knowledge and a lot more, I think, respect too. Because if you're that person who's always trying to BS your way around things, you just kind of become the person that nobody really takes seriously in one sense.
Yes. Melanie Ference operates Chocolates and Candlelight. She's done so in our community since 1999 and beyond. You can find her business in Millennium Place, 122 Millennium Drive, Unit 4. Do you remember when you joined the Fort McMurray Chamber of Commerce? Has it been a while?
It has been a little bit, yeah. So I was involved with the chamber a number of years ago, because as a new business, you kind of just look for avenues and ways to be involved in the community. And so I was a member for a few years. Sadly, I didn't feel like I was getting a lot from it. And so I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to leave that part for a little bit. But recently, and I believe it's been at least 5 years that I've been a member, and as I said, just continue to be grateful for all the work that everybody is doing there, because I certainly encourage other businesses to take advantage of it. There's everything from discounts and whatnot to just the sharing and this type of thing. This is a fantastic idea that you came up with. So why wouldn't I want to be involved in that? And that's something I've tried to do in lots of different ways. Whether it's I'm going to give a shout out to Melanie Gallia, because she's another amazing advocate for the community, and she created a platform. So as a business owner, you really need to keep your eyes open. Take advantage of things like this. I mean, the chamber is doing a lot of really great things. So like I said, why would I not want to try to be a part of it?
Well, very grateful for that. And you know what? Action speaks louder than words. And the Fort McMurray Chamber of Commerce in the year 2021, we've got a lot of things that we want to get going. This podcast is just one example. But honestly, when we hear from business owners like yourself, Melanie, the good and the bad, it motivates us to improve. Speaking of the year in front of us, 2021, what does it look like for you, and what do you think it's going to look like for your business?
Well, it's put me in a really healthy position to start the year off, which we're really grateful for. I mean, this past Christmas holiday season, more than I've ever heard in the whole course of running the store, I had consistent people walking through the door, that have never been to the store before. And that happens all the time. It still floors me, but there's always people that have never been to the store. So lots and lots of new people, lots and lots of comments about local love. And that's how I sort of refrain to it, or phrase it rather. Because they made the effort. And I've always said, all we ask as a small local business is that you just make the effort to find what you're looking for right under your nose first.
Yes.
If you legit can't do that, or we can't help you with it, fair enough. You go where you can get it. I get it. But people took the time, they made the extra effort, they commented over and over. They were not going to travel outside the community to do their shopping.
Yep.
So it's put us in a really good position to start, and that's given us the opportunity to get new things in the store, to open up to new lines, new product lines that I've kind of had in my wish book for a while. And again, just reading the community, we've lost some businesses, unfortunately. Some others have had to restructure, change to try to figure out how they were going to continue. So that's left some voids. So we always try to fill some of those voids. Maybe we can't fill a whole store with each of those specifics, but we can definitely dabble enough in each one of them to make people have things to come and see. And if they're looking for something in a baby section or whatever it happens to be, hopefully we've got something that'll work for them. And we're always encouraging people, if they're looking for something, just ask.
Yes.
Because I have the ability always to potentially place an order and fill it for them. So it's something that we always try to do. And that's one of the differences between a big box store and a small guy like us, where we have that ability to have the one-on-one conversation. And you need a mirror that's 36 by 32. Well, maybe I can find that for you.
Exactly. So, that's the thing. I mean, if there's anything that I really wanted to emphasize when talking to you today, Melanie, it's that you can't go to the city or place an order with a company that's 3 provinces away or in another country and expect to get, I'm not going to say that you get emotionally invested with every purchase everybody makes at your store, but there probably is a degree of investment in what that person's looking for, that they are being fulfilled,
Definitely. Yeah. The main goal that I think I've always had for the shop has been to create an experience for the customer. So whether that's a situation of, oh my God, I've looked everywhere and I can't find this, and you guys managed to get that for us, that's just so awesome. Every time I look at that, I'm going to think of you guys. Or,
nice.
Just whatever it happens to be, you're searching for a special gift for your anniversary, and so we talk about the likes and dislikes and come up with something cool. So, it doesn't matter what we sell. Like I said, I could have the best chocolate from Paris, France in the store every day, and if we can't highlight that and create the experience to sell it and get people in the door to take advantage of it, it's not going to matter. So experience is the key for sure for us.
That's really all it comes down to. If you want to have the kind of retail experience that Melanie Ference from Chocolates and Candlelight has been talking about during this episode of Chamber Voices, it's as simple as paying her a visit. She would love to connect with you. Her store, once more, is located at 122 Millennium Drive, unit number 4. Chocolates and Candlelight is online at chocolatesandcandlelight.com, as well as on Facebook and Twitter. And so are we. You can visit our website at fortmcmurraychamber.ca. If you are a business, perhaps you're new to town, perhaps you've been here for a little while, and you are interested in chamber membership and to discover what that might do to help benefit you and our community, connect with us. My name is Stuart McIntosh. One more time, I would like to say thank you for joining us on this episode of Chamber Voices.